Hi, I'm Caroline, and I've created a lot of things, but mostly I've created a life I love. Join me on my journey as a podcaster, business owner, and mom as I try to create all the things. Welcome to the Caroline Creates podcast. Hey everybody, and welcome to the last episode of season 2 of the Caroline Creates podcast. Yes, you heard me right. This is the last episode of season 2. Originally, there was supposed to be this episode and another episode, but life happens and we had to make an executive decision, and the executive decision was to go ahead and wrap up the podcast. I was fully prepared to do 2 more episodes, and then my daughter ended up in the hospital and it was just too much. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. It's the end of May. It seems really fitting before we go into summer to end the podcast right now and go into some other fun, exciting things. So I want to just start this episode by saying thank you to everybody who's listened and supported me in this little tiny itsy bitsy endeavor. My goal has always been to share some of the knowledge that I've learned being a podcaster, some of the knowledge I've learned being a podcast editor, but also I want everybody to be able to have a podcast and to be able to do it themselves from their home if they need to. And that's why this podcast has been important to me. I wanted to share the things that you would need to know so you could do it yourself, or some of the mistakes that we've made. And so I really hope that it has helped. And again, thank you just to everybody who's listened, who's left reviews and been supportive. It's meant a lot to me. Having a solo podcast was not something I was confident in my ability to do. I've always podcasted with a co-host, and so it's been a really fun endeavor for the last 2 seasons. You're probably going, geez, Caroline, you're talking like the podcast is going away. So I want to talk a little bit about what's happening with Caroline Creates over the summer. See, last year, a little bit before Christmas, or might have even been last summer, but I started getting the feeling that Caroline Creates was growing and it was becoming something else entirely. And I wasn't sure if Caroline Creates was the right name for my business anymore. Caroline Creates is a name that came from my old past business life, in which I was a designer. I designed stationery, I did hand lettering, and that name really suited that business and really fit, and it was what people knew, and it is how they knew me, and it I don't know, it made a lot of sense. When I started the podcasting business, I kind of just kept the name because it was there. I didn't really know what I wanted my next iteration to look like and to be. And so I just kind of slid it over, slapped podcasting on the end, and just kind of kept it. Didn't really change the URL, didn't really do anything. And this past year, I have seen so much growth in my business. And I really attribute that to the fact that I have amazing clients who refer me, but I've put a lot of work into our offerings and what we do and how we do things. It's been a really huge part of the growth this year for me. I wanted to see this little budding baby business become more serious, take itself more seriously, stand up and look bigger, but also be accessible. And part of, the importance of this business is definitely that it allows me to stay home with my kiddos and help support my family. And because the business is growing, my time is getting more divided and harder to kind of pull apart, I guess, if you will. So I kind of have my days kind of run in a situation where I have all these little time blocks, and there are time blocks for the business, and then there are time blocks for my kids where we're doing schoolwork, and then there's another business time block, and then I'm doing laundry, and then and then there's a kid time block where we've got to read, and then there's a time block where I'm making dinner, and then I'm getting them ready for bed, and then I have to work again, and it's become a little crazy, all in a good way, not complaining at all, but I do need more time for myself. This is definitely something that I've learned. And I know that this means that eventually there will have to be other editors in my business, which means that my name doesn't necessarily need to be on the sign anymore. So I hem and hawed for a long time about what I was going to do with the name, with the business, everything. And I finally decided at the start of this year, after I actually, okay, let me back up. So I actually signed up for a course and went through a course. It's called the Dreamy Client Magnet, which I highly recommend. Raina Pomeroy, I believe is her last name, does it. It's rainaandco.com. I'll put the link in the show notes because I may have all of that information completely wrong. But while doing this course, you kind of dive deep into your business and all the things, what does it mean? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? How can you do this better? How can you do that better? And as I was going through the course, it made me realize even more how much I wanted to rebrand and how much I wanted to give a new perspective to this podcasting business. It also is important because I feel like I've grown out of Caroline Creates and I want to grow into something else. And I'm super excited about the direction we're going. So after I did that course, I did a lot of soul searching, a lot of Googling, a lot of brainstorming, and I finally came up with a name for my business, which I am not going to share right now. I'm not quite ready to share it just yet. And from there, the process kind of began when I hired my new assistant, who is going to be taking on more of an OBM type role with our business. One of the things that she has really focused on is getting this process going, tackling this project. We're going to be doing a new website, all these things. So part of ending the podcast right now is so we can focus on these things because we're going to be building a new website this summer. I'm so excited about the new website. I am going to be making it a lot easier to find all the resources and goodies that I have to offer. And I guess I need to clarify because I said that I'm taking my name off the sign, but I am still going to be the voice of this business. I'm still the owner. I'm still the head editor, producer, but I know that at some point I'm going to need help. And it just didn't seem right to have it be Caroline Creates anymore because I may not be the only one creating. Now, that being said, part of owning a business and having people work under you who do a similar thing as you is that you develop a way that is done correctly. And so that's something that we're going to be working on a lot. I am really hoping that my husband is going to come on board as an editor. This is something that we've been talking about a lot. He is very interested. He wants to tackle it. He wants to be a part of it. He's really excited for the growth that we've experienced. And so it would be really cool if he could come on board part-time as an editor. So that's something we're going to be kicking around. But yeah, so when we launch the new brand, this podcast will not exist anymore. We will be launching a new podcast under the new name, but also with a slightly different format, which I'm super excited about. I'm not entirely ready to divulge all the details, but just know that I'm not going anywhere. The Caroline Creates podcast will stay up. The feed will be here, and we will be releasing a mini episode when the new branding is ready to launch so that everybody knows where to find us and all of that good stuff. So that's my big announcement. Kind of put it at the beginning of the episode, just wanted to get it out there. So, my encouragement to you as we go into the summer, this is such a great time to really evaluate what's going on in your business, in your life, to take some time off. I've done an episode before about taking a break and how to do that. Work on your systems, get things in place. That way, as you go into the fall and the holiday season, your life and schedule are easy for you and not stressful. Also, too, I've been so encouraged the past few weeks, been seeing some things happening in the podcasting world, some growth, some changes. And as somebody who owes their livelihood to this industry, it's so amazing to just see where it's going. And I have just so much excitement and faith in what's to come in the future. And I definitely, if you are on the fence and you haven't started your podcast and you are not sure if you should, this is the time to do it. And I really encourage you to start. If you need more resources after listening to this podcast, I invite you to come to my website, carolinecreates.com. When we launch the new website, it will direct you to the new website, so don't worry about that. But we've got a lot of really great things on there for you. We're going to be blogging throughout the summer on a lot of topics about how to get started, what to do if you feel you're in a saturated category, how to repurpose your content so that it works good for you, but even more. So we've got a lot planned. So we're not going silent over the summer. And I also really want you to follow me on Instagram at Caroline Creates. It's a really good place to get to know me and what I'm working on, what's going on in my personal life as well as my business life. I try to share a little bit both on there. And I also share some podcasting tips on there as well. In addition, we have a 5-day mini launch guide. It's free. It's delivered to your email inbox, and it just helps you go through some basic steps to get your podcast launched. If you feel like you need something even deeper than that, I really encourage you to check out my new course on Skillshare, which is the mini podcast launch guide, which is basically a mini version of what I offer to my launch guide clients. So thank you so much again. I'm sad to say goodbye, but I'm also really excited to take a break and work on some new and exciting things for you. And of course, if you have any questions or you want to know more about the services we offer, feel free to email me hello@carolinecreates.com. I hope you guys have a wonderful summer. If you need me, I'll be here in Colorado looking at the mountains all summer. I'm not vacationing until the fall, but that's okay. I'm excited. So yeah, so weird. Last episode of the Caroline Creates podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to look out for that mini episode that'll be coming later in the summer that will tell you where to go to hear from me next. And if you miss my voice a ton, you can hear me over at the Creative Biz Rebellion podcast. It's a podcast for product makers that I have with my incredible co-host, Kelly Parker Smith. And I invite you to come listen to that, especially if you're a product maker. We've also got a really awesome Facebook group where we hang out. So lots of ways to connect with me. Don't be a stranger. And thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful week. Before you go, please head to Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. I would love to hear from you. And to learn more about me and follow along my journey, head to www.carolinecreates.com. There you can also listen to episodes, watch YouTube videos, and find out more about my podcasting services. Thanks so much. Have a great day.